Tokenized stocks are absolutely exploding right now. We're looking at a mind-blowing 97% surge over the past 30 days, hitting roughly $720 million. And the monthly transfer volume? Dude, it's blasting off to almost $500 million. That's a massive 180% spike in the last month alone. Monthly active addresses plus holders are literally shooting through the roof. We're talking nearly 49% up and a solid 28% plus increase. So here's the thing. When you're analyzing all this movement, Ondo is clearly one of the absolute titans pushing these gigantic waves we're witnessing in real time. But you know what? I'm definitely tracking some other heavy hitters in this space, like, just as an example, even the XRP ledger. Now, XRP is interesting. When we break it down, yeah, XRP's only got one tokenized stock sitting on it right now, worth approximately $55.4 million. But here's my take. We are absolutely in the super early innings of tokenized stocks, folks. Here's what's undeniable, though, when we examine these numbers. The stock market of tomorrow is absolutely going to exist on-chain. I genuinely don't believe Wall Street is going to look anything like what we're seeing today. And you know what's wild? These massive institutions like Robinhood, NASDAQ, they've literally been broadcasting exactly what their game plan is. And this year is when things really kicked off. They're literally saying, hey, guess what? We're going 24/7 with trading. And the only way to pull that off? Blockchain. We're talking about bringing stocks on chain and basically letting blockchain become the backbone of the entire operation. So when we zoom in on what's making all this possible, it comes down to one thing: regulations. And speaking of that, we just got some massive news. The SEC chair, Paul Atkins, just announced that crypto is literally his top priority right now. Now, if you've been keeping up with my recent videos, especially the one where I talked about the SEC completely flipping the switch, you'll know the SEC has been incredibly pro-crypto at every single turn. ETFs, they're all in on crypto for those, and they're actively clearing away every roadblock standing in the way of altcoin ETFs. But there's more. With Project Crypto, we're watching the SEC team up with the CFTC on several initiatives around crypto to make sure we finally get that clarity we need. I mean, it's crystal clear. Crypto has completely transformed in terms of how it's perceived and how these agencies like the SEC and the CFTC are handling it. We've got Paul Atkins himself dropping this on the 29th. Today, we're hosting a joint roundtable with the CFTC on regulatory harmonization. I'm really looking forward to working with my counterparts across the administration to make sure the SEC and the CFTC are operating side by side so American innovation and investments can absolutely thrive. So here's what we know for sure. The CFTC and the SEC are actually working together on this joint harmonized framework for crypto. We're talking about a complete, full-on regulatory framework for crypto that's being developed by these agencies together. This is literally something we've been talking about and speculating on for years and years. But guess what? It's finally happening right before our eyes. And I've got to say, I'm really excited about this, especially because just recently, the CFTC actually hosted an event about all this. And I'm pretty sure this was in the US, though don't quote me on that specific detail. But here's what's really exciting. They've been sitting down with smaller crypto companies, right? Just having real conversations about navigating regulations and bringing the kind of clarity this space desperately needs. The goal? Let innovation absolutely flourish while making sure these companies can operate at full throttle. We don't want anything getting slowed down here, guys. We can't afford to have things getting choked off anymore because honestly, for the longest time, especially during Operation Choke Point 2.0, trying to build anything in this space was like running through quicksand. Every single step, another roadblock waiting for you. But fast forward to 2025, and guess what? All those barriers that were blocking our path, they're gone. Completely gone. And now the conversation has totally shifted to, how do we actually regulate this thing properly? How do we create real clarity for everyone involved? And most importantly, how do we make absolutely certain that the US leads the charge in crypto? Speaking of leadership, we just got this amazing update from Caroline Pham, the CFTC acting chairman, who said, and I quote, "Proud to finish the greatest roadshow ever. Invest in America. Tens of thousands of innovators across Europe, the Middle East, and even Asia heard it straight from me. So with regulatory clarity finally here for crypto, America is literally rolling out the red carpet saying, come on in, invest with us, hire here, build your dreams. And listen, this regulatory clarity, it's real, it's happening. Guys, I cannot stress this enough. We absolutely need to zero in on this because without these clear rules, crypto just can't unlock its full potential. It's that simple. This is exactly why I've been banging the drum about Ripple and XRP, right? All these utility-based projects out there. And look, I'll be straight with you. These projects right now have this fake value slapped on them. I've talked about this so many times, I've broken it down repeatedly. Here's my honest take. Pretty much every valuation we're seeing in this entire space is completely artificial. That's precisely why I'm watching what's unfolding with regulations and these massive institutional players jumping in. Because what we're witnessing is the whole crypto landscape getting a complete makeover. It's finally creating the right environment for these utility projects to actually reach their true values and get used the way they were meant to be. For everyone holding XRP, here's what you need to understand. We're not going to see that genuine value until regulatory clarity becomes mainstream. We're actually watching this unfold right before our eyes. Now, let me tell you about this incredible roundtable discussion happening between the SEC and the CFTC. Paul Atkins just came out and basically said this is a game changer. He's calling today a literal turning point in the entire history of American financial markets at this SEC and CFTC joint roundtable focused on regulatory harmonization. Listen, for way too long, these two agencies have been running on separate tracks, and honestly, they've been butting heads more often than not. But guess what? That's all changing now. We're finally setting a brand new direction here. You've got to listen to this.
Today, I believe, marks a turning point in the history of American financial markets. For too long, the SEC and the CFTC have operated in parallel lanes, too often in conflict with each other, leaving the American public to bear the costs of duplication, delay, and uncertainty. That era is behind us. We are charting a new course, one that will solidify America's position as the world's financial leader.
So listen, the fact that we're seeing these two agencies finally teaming up, that's absolutely huge. Like, I'm talking game-changing stuff here. This is honestly incredible to witness because, you know what? This is exactly what we've been screaming for since 2022, 2023, 2024. And guess what? It's actually happening right now. Look, I get it. We've been waiting forever. It felt like it was never going to come, but here we are, finally watching this joint collaboration unfold before our eyes. And this isn't just agencies working together. We're talking about major market participants jumping in too. So basically, we've got both sides of this whole thing locked in, the traditional finance world and the crypto space, which honestly gets me super pumped. Now check this out. Coinbase's CEO, Brian Armstrong, just dropped this, and he says, "I've never been more bullish about clear rules for crypto. Banks want to ban rewards to maintain their monopoly, and we're making sure the Senate knows bailing out the big banks at the expense of the American consumer is not okay." Take a listen to this.
You probably all know that we got the Genius Act already passed into law for stablecoins, which is great. The next step is we've got to get market structure passed. And I've actually never been more bullish on this getting through. We've already seen strong bipartisan support in the House. Now it's being deliberated in the Senate. This has not stopped the banks from coming in and trying to relitigate issues that were already settled in the Genius Act. In particular, they're trying to ban rewards on stablecoins, even though this is already settled into law. And we're making sure that the Senate knows that bailing out the big banks, which are having record profit margins at the expense of the American consumer, is not going to fly. That would be a foolish thing to do politically because there's 50 million Americans like you who have now used crypto, and they want to make sure that they can actually earn more money with their money. Who'd have thought? So visit standwithcrypto.org if you want to help and support. We'd love your help in contacting senators and congresspeople to make sure we get market structure passed and preserve rewards on stablecoins. Thanks.
When you actually listen to these crypto CEOs, people like Brad Garlinghouse and others in the space, what are they constantly asking for? Clarity. They want clear rules. And here's what drives me crazy. There's this huge myth that keeps getting repeated. All these traditional bankers and the people backing them love to say, Oh yeah, crypto CEOs hate regulation because they want to run wild and break all the rules. Dude, that could not be further from the truth. Brad Garlinghouse has been publicly calling for proper regulations forever. Brian Armstrong, same exact story. These leaders have been practically begging for clear regulatory frameworks. But hold on, here's the twist that everyone seems to conveniently ignore. What these CEOs actually wanted was smart regulations, not the kind that would completely murder innovation in its tracks. That's what they were fighting against. It wasn't about avoiding rules altogether, it was about stopping regulators from trying to completely destroy this entire ecosystem and basically gift wrap it for the legacy banking system. Plot twist. That plan failed spectacularly. And what's completely mind-blowing right now is that we're actively seeing these regulatory agencies making strategic moves to make sure the future actually lives on-chain. The traditional banks, yeah, they totally lost this battle. Okay, so listen, these banks aren't going to keep doing what they've always done forever, right? Being that massive player that just pulls in insane amounts of money from everyday people, getting super wealthy and constantly expanding because of it. JP Morgan's honestly the perfect case study here. Even when the 2008 financial crisis hit, want to know who ended up bigger? JP Morgan. And yeah, they got richer during it too, while regular consumers got absolutely destroyed. That's not happening again this time though. Everything's actually moving on-chain right now, and these huge banks are legitimately terrified because they're losing their grip on everything. Now we've got something here from Caroline D. Pam. I've actually talked about this one not too long ago. Buckle up because the CFTC just made a major move. They're rolling out this tokenized collateral and stablecoins initiative alongside some seriously big industry names. This is hands down the killer app that's going to revolutionize markets, make every dollar work way smarter, stretch further, and basically unlock insane US economic growth by cutting costs like never before. Now, what makes this absolutely massive? The fact that the CFTC themselves are actually running this whole thing. And we've already seen the CFTC teaming up with the SEC on this, right? So guess who's in the mix? Circle, Coinbase, Crypto.com, Tether, and Ripple. Yeah, these are the absolute powerhouses being brought in to transform markets and revolutionize how dollars operate on a global scale. Ripple's front and center as one of the main players too, which is wild. But here's where it gets absolutely bonkers. We just got another massive development from the SEC. Word is they're actually exploring letting blockchain-powered versions of stocks trade directly on crypto exchanges per inside sources. No joke, Wall Street is legitimately being backed into a corner here. Look, banks are literally backed into a corner right now, and crypto, it's sitting in such an insanely strong position that all these traditional finance bros are straight up losing their minds. They're panicking. They're terrified. Here's the wild part. We totally called this. Like, they spent years going after crypto, trying to take it down. Absolutely years trying to destroy it. And listen, this is something we've hammered home on this channel forever. Sure, they can throw punches at it all day long, but technology, it's not going anywhere. It just keeps expanding. It keeps evolving. It keeps innovating nonstop. This is precisely why whenever big banks and Wall Street start attacking something, we've got to zoom out and think, hold on. Why the aggressive push? Because deep down, they're petrified that this technology is going to devour their entire market. And guess what's happening? Crypto's literally already started eating their lunch. And the most exciting part? Crypto is now replacing all these greedy middlemen who've been absolutely bleeding consumers dry forever. They couldn't care less about people as long as those profits kept rolling in. But the tables are turning fast. Tokenized stocks are straight up happening now. We're looking at nearly $1 billion sitting in tokenized stocks already. So we're not at the finish line yet, but guess what? The revolution's already rolling. And the wild part? Stablecoins are straight up demolishing what big banks have dominated for centuries. Right now, everyday people are zapping money across continents at warp speed while paying what? Basically nothing. Here's where it gets juicy. Those banks? They're losing their minds over stablecoins, absolutely panicking. That's exactly why they're desperately cooking up their own knockoff versions. But when you zoom out and look at crypto as a whole, here's the beautiful irony. Crypto's actually delivering on everything banks pretend they want to offer, except banks can never go there. Why not? Because pulling that off means letting go of their precious profit machine. And let's be real, they're death gripping that greed harder than ever. But hold up, here's the absolute best part of this entire story. Ripple and XRP, they're front and center in this whole transformation. Now, how do I know that? Simple. Just look at this bombshell announcement with the CFTC. And here's what really blows my mind. The SEC mysteriously dropped their lawsuit at the most convenient moment possible. Perfect timing, right? Almost like it cleared the runway for Ripple to dive deep into collaborations with these major agencies, helping roll out the digital dollar and completely revolutionizing these legacy markets. And yeah, I'm talking about the stock market too. So there you have it, folks. Really hope you got some value from today's video. If this opens your eyes at all, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and definitely ring that notification bell. Way more free knowledge bombs coming your way. I appreciate you watching. Catch you later.